Well, sport. And the world of sport this week is dominated by stories from Rugby League. Paul McGregor, a very good man, sacked as the St George coach. I stress, a very good person. I think a young bloke summed it up today when he said to me, well, the Dragons will be coached by Dean Young. Everyone gets a gig. Don't be surprised if I wake up one day and start coaching a footy team. Big bucks, guaranteed for 20 years and beyond. It doesn't matter if I fail because I can then go to the Titans or to Brisbane or to North Queensland or to Auckland. How true is that? It's a merry-go-round, isn't it? The Broncos, once the toast of Brisbane, are in disarray beyond description. One player sacked, another dozen, maybe for eating in a pub, and a coach beyond the point of disarray. The only good news for the Broncos is that Ben Etienne, part of Fox Sports, has applied to become the next CEO. This bloke played 150 first-grade games. I think he has ability. 55 for the Broncos. He's articulate, he's knowledgeable, he's got administrative experience, and he's got energy and ideas. He's the man they need, Ben Etienne. And congratulations to the captain of the Netball Diamonds, Caitlin Bassett, who celebrated her 200th National League match in style, leading the Giants to their first netball win of the season. She debuted as a 16-year-old playing for Perth, and she's now captain of Australia. Terrific stuff, 200 games. And good luck to all the schoolboys in the NRL Schoolboy Cup, a knockout rugby league competition, but the breeding ground of terrific talent. And talking about talent, tonight, the Battle of Sydney will take place in Perth. In AFL, the Giants take on Sydney, but there's talk there might only be 10,000 spectators. It'll be the lowest crowd in the history of the Sydney rivalry. Why on earth couldn't the game have been played in Sydney? And if I give myself a plug here, you can read my latest rugby column in tomorrow's Australian, as you can every Friday. I think our rugby administrators are still asleep at the wheel. And just on rugby, a sad note. The rugby family today farewelled one of its greats, Dick Tooth, who died on August 5. He represented the Wallabies in 10 test matches, appeared 19 times. He captained Australia on 2 occasions. But these were the days when sport was married to scholarship. Dick Tooth became one of our outstanding orthopaedic surgeons. He not only captained Australia at rugby, he was a sports medicine pioneer. Few who wear the green and gold could boast such a CV. He was remembered fondly today through a splendid eulogy delivered by the distinguished medical colleague and former outstanding player, the orthopaedic surgeon, Dr. Merv Cross. Dick Tooth died on August 5 at the age of 90. It's not a cliche to say that in the history of Australian sport, Dick Tooth will always find an honoured place. Well, something else again, away from Dick Tooth. Most Australians have a bet once a year at least on the Melbourne Cup. But I know a lot of you like your racing, and I know a lot of you like your history. Well, let me combine the two for you tonight. The very first Melbourne Cup was run back in 1861. The actual prize was not a cup at all. It was a gold watch and a cash purse. The first trophy was awarded in 1866 to the owners of the Barb, and that trophy now sits in the National Museum of Australia. Let's go back, though, to that first event in 1861. 4,000 people turned out at Flemington Racecourse. Melbourne was awash with gold rush money and was considered the home of thoroughbred racing. There were 21 entries in the first cup, but 4 were scratched before the race, 17 lined up for the start, but before the flag dropped, one of the starters, Twilight, bolted. Then in the opening stages, 2 horses fell. The eventual winner was a horse from New South Wales, Archer. And Archer is the reason we're talking racing tonight. That first race was 159 years ago, and the Melbourne Cup is still the race that stops the nation. Archer won in 1861 by a margin of 8 lengths, about 15 metres. What many people don't know is Archer won the first 2 Melbourne Cups. The jockey on both occasions was Johnny Cutts. The trainer was Etienne de Mestre. They hailed from Nowra, 2 hours south of Sydney. The vice-chairman of the Shoalhaven City Turf Club is Ian Whitby. He's in our Sydney studio. Ian, welcome. What do we know about Archer and Etienne de Mestre? Because de Mestre went on to win 5 Melbourne Cups, I think, a record that lasted almost 100 years until Bart broke the record.
Yes, welcome, Alan. Thank you for that. Yes, he did win the first 2 Melbourne Cups, and he went on to win a further 3, and it made it, in the first 100 years, he was the best trainer.
Yes.
And of course, the colonial rivalry between New South Wales and Victoria existed strongly back then.
Didn't Archer walk to Melbourne for that first cup?
If you like to believe that story, but he actually took a steamer from Grenmore Point up to Sydney, and then the City of Sydney steamer down to Melbourne.
Amazing. He was trained in Exeter, by the way, in the Southern Highlands, and he returned the following year and he won again, and he would have entered for a third year, but a telegram, which is the way you had to nominate, arrived a day late, and the Victorians wouldn't accept his entry. You're trying to raise funds, aren't you, to build a statue, a memorial of Archer and Etienne de Mestre at the Shoalhaven Turf Club in Nowra. It'd be a wonderful tourist attraction, wouldn't it?
It certainly would be. With the international interest, it would create a lot of tourist dollars into New South Wales in particular. Well,
we'll give that a plug, Ian. Good to talk to you, because congratulations to everyone at Nowra for the work that they're doing. A very special shout-out to everyone down there also impacted by the recent floods. But to donate to the cause, it's easy. It's easy. You just go to I can't work that out.
SCTC.
sctcnowra.com.au. sctcnowra.com.au. But now, look, something very special. There were no cameras to record the first Melbourne Cup in 1861, no radio calls. But many of you will remember Gavin Carmody, who worked for me for years on 2GB. Gavin's now with Sky Racing and does an outstanding job. I asked Gav to give us a phantom call of the very first Melbourne Cup in 1861. We picked them up as they round the turn.
As they approach the 600 metres mark in the first Melbourne Cup, and Flatcatcher, who is led for out. Archer sitting right on his hammer in a real stalking position. And then Mormon, the favourite, back to the inside from Prince and Tory Boy. Cowan starting to feel for Antonelli and far away. Inheritor and the riderless Twilight is heading to the outside fence. Heads up, tone for home in the Cup. And Archer cuts, gave him a bit of leather, and he quickly slipped 3 in front of Flatcatcher, who's already put up the white flag. Antonelli to the outside and Tory Boy. Mormon under his 9 stone 10. The favourite is coming to the outside. And then came Prince and far away and Inheritor at the 300 metre mark. And Archer, he went for home. He shot 3 in front of Mormon and Prince. Tory Boy and Antonelli, he's gone further in front, Archer. In the black colours, he's 6 in front of Mormon, who can do no better. And then Prince and Tory Boy. But he might have walked here, but he's going to trot in the Cup. No railing, no worries. Archer wins by 6. Mormon second, and then Prince and Tory Boy. Antonelli and far away, and Inheritor was back among the cap catchers.
Oh, Gavin, that is fantastic. Gavin Carmody, you can see, that's amazing. He does a wonderful job there. The prize for the first Melbourne Cup, as I said, was a gold watch and a purse with 930 quid, which is quite a bit of money, about 141,000 in today's money. The winner today takes home 4.4 million and trophies worth 250,000. Look, stay with racing. The sport gets into your blood. For many, the sound of Saturday afternoons is the sound of racing. And for listeners right around the country, that voice is Simon Harrison. Simon is the voice of Sky Racing. 2KY, this is as good as it gets. He was born in Perth, moved to Sydney in 1987. As a youngster, he harboured a desire to become a newsreader, but later an enthusiasm for racing emerged. 1996, everything changed. He was injured in a train accident. Simon lost his left arm and 3 fingers on his right hand. He said he went into a free fall and felt like he was looking through a window at a life that didn't include him. Then he moved to Sydney and found himself hanging around TABs all day. He ended up going to 2KY at Parramatta in Sydney to ask if they had any opportunities. He spent 5 nights a week in the 2KY studios learning the craft of race coordinating, with the ABC broadcaster Mike Broadhurst helping to develop and refine his vocal skills. Simon now is the afternoon presenter of the National Racing Service on Sky Sports Radio. In his own words, bringing the races to the people is his daily passion, and he does it all one-handed. He's sitting here beside me.
I was going to say I did it single-handedly.
Hey, look, I don't like talking about disability, but, I mean, your ability is at another level. How did you get your mind around the fact that you were going to overcome the disability?
Oh, well, it was a gradual process. It certainly didn't happen overnight. It took quite a few years, really, the process of going through denial and anger and blame and all of the steps you go before you can finally reach acceptance.
Come on, stop waving that. This is the hand that does it all.
This is
the hand that puts all the buttons.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got races all over the country, jumping at different times. You've got interviews, you've got ads, you've got results, and you coordinate protests, odds, and you do the lot.
Yeah, it's probably a little easier than what it sounds because I have the microphone to rely on. You generally speak, and that allows me to get from one button to the other, one fader to the other. So getting from one button to the next is as long as I can keep waffling on for.
But you don't make any mistakes.
Oh, I've made a few.
Hey? The love of racing, where does it come from?
The love of racing for me, I guess, was born from the Melbourne Cup.
Listen to that voice. We hear it every Saturday. Go on.
I never really came from a racing family, but every year I'd put a few dollars each way on the Melbourne Cup, and then when I won on Doremus in 1995, that sort of roped me in, and then that was where the passion went. Following the accident, everything I wanted to do changed, and I thought, well, my career path will lie now.
I've got to repeat this to people out there. We whinge and carry on and moan about our problems. Here is a man, only one arm. You can see his jacket. Yes, he's only got one arm, and he's lost fingers on this hand, and there, what he's got left, presses all those buttons and coordinates everything. Tell me your favourite race moment.
My favourite race moment would probably be the day Ian Craig was calling the last at Rose Hill and a streaker ran onto the track.
Oh, come on.
It was after the last.
I thought you were going to indulge me and say the day Miss Finland won the Golden Slipper.
Oh, I could have done that, I suppose. I could have gone through so many different racing moments. But Ian Craig calling that streaker running down the home straight and then saying that the long arm of the law has finally caught up with him and is now resting firmly upon his shoulder was pretty funny. But in terms of my favourite horse winning, well, being a West Australian, Alan, I'd have to say I've always had a soft spot for Northerly. But I am pleased to say that in the 2006 Golden Slipper, I did a Phantom Caller to Calcutta up at the Rose and Crown in Parramatta. And in the Phantom Call, I had Miss Finland winning it, so you'd have been very happy with that.
Are you a punter?
Yeah, I like having a punt, yeah.
And what do you think when you cast your mind back to life after the accident, when you said you felt like you were looking through a window at another life? Did you think this life would be as it panned out?
No, definitely not. And I've got a support worker that works with me through the NDIS, Alana. She came in tonight. She said it to me the other day when I said I felt like I was looking through a window that I was no longer a part of. And then people were saying, well, how did you sort of get a spot on the Alan Jones show? I said, well, people I know in radio know his producer, and I sort of know him through that connection.
Well, I've got to tell a story there because I've interviewed you and your grandfather, Arthur Bancroft, on Anzac Day in 2003. Arthur was a POW on the Burma Railway, and after a carrier ship he was on, sunk en route to Japan. He survived 6 nights on a raft in the South China Sea before he was rescued by an American submarine. Now, I know he's since passed, but it's an astounding tale of survival, isn't it? I interviewed your grandfather and had a 3-way phone interview, remember, with the American...
Jack Bennett.
Jack Bennett, who pulled him out of the water.
Yeah, it was incredible.
75th anniversary of World War II on Saturday, lest we forget. Hey, listen, congratulations on what you do.
Oh, well...
It's inspirational. You're a superstar.
Thanks very much, Alan. If I can say one thing about my pop as well, my grandfather, he would have said the most profound thing that anybody's ever said to me. It was right after the accident. I was in hospital at the Royal North Shore. Nana and Pop flew across from Perth to be by my side. My Nana was very emotional, as you could imagine. But Pop was like the hard old gumboot on the porch that was just standing at the foot of the bed, that didn't really say too much, didn't show too much emotion. And at the end of their week before they travelled back to Perth, my Nana grabbed me and hugged me and kissed me and told me she loved me. And she left the room and Pop stayed behind and he just grabbed me by the ankle. He shook it through the blanket and said to me, "Don't worry, son, you'll get through this. It's in your blood."
Isn't that lovely?
Turned and he walked out the door.
Well, you've got through it. Got through it indeed. Lovely to talk to you. Thank you for your time. There he is, Simon Harrison. You can hear him on 2KY.